What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler, a true banger of a video. Hope you guys do enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do, and also hope you guys enjoy the new Firebase Z Zombies gameplay. Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, honestly, that first map was kind of mid, but this map goes pretty hard, dude. I got the Wonder Weapon this time around, so it was pretty good. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you do, and also don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Hey, you don't want to miss out. You really, truly don't. Turn on the notifications, slap the bell. Let's dive right into the video. So, this is a classic old story. This happened way back in summer of 2016. And it started off a pretty normal day. I drove on over to Cody's house. I hit him up, asked if he wanted to hang out. And I drove over there figuring that I was just going to re-up there and, get some more bud. On my way there, I grabbed my stuff. I grabbed my bud, got ready to go. And, on my way there, I stopped at McDonald's, grabbed some drinks. And it was a normal summer day, right? I get over to Cody's house, and I had maybe a gram of bud left, but like I said, I was figuring I was going to re-up, so I wasn't really worried about that. So I get to Cody's house, dap him up, and sit down, and we start rolling up a blunt, right, out of the last little bud that I've got left. I ask him, because his brother's not out in the garage yet, as we're chilling out there, I'm like, hey, is your brother coming out? What's going on? He's like, yo, let me go ask him. Give me a second. So he goes inside, I'm sitting there just kind of waiting for him to come back out. He comes back out. Honestly, it was forever, dude. It was like probably like 5-10 minutes later. Comes back out, felt like an eternity later, and he tells me that his brother's out of weed. Now, that is not a very common occurrence. Normally, he stayed stocked up, and if he didn't, he usually would re-up the same day, which he mentioned. He was like, I think he's going to grab some more later, though, but right now, he's totally out. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, shit. This gram isn't going to last us, boys. Hey, this gram is going to be one blunt and we're done. We can maybe struggle blunts. We could get 2 half-gram blunts going. But either way, this isn't a good time for us. We're some young dudes. We're pretty broke. And then one time I got a little bit of cash in my pocket. The plug man has no weed. So obviously we got to figure that out. I bust out my phone and I tell Cody, I'm like, listen, dude, while we smoke this blunt, let's just hit up a bunch of people and try to find some bud. The classic old strategy, which back then it wasn't too hard to find bud. It was just hard to find decent bud, right? So I'm hitting people up. I'm swiping up, hitting everyone up, just doing what I can, going on Snapchat, going through my contacts. Cody's brainstorming, hitting people up. And eventually, Cody got someone for me, a mutual friend of ours who we're going to call Nate. He's like, yo, Nate said he might know someone. You should Snapchat him real quick. I'm like, bet, dude, say less. We're like detectives on the case. Cody's got a lead, dude. We're going for it. So I bust open my Snapchat. I hit up Nate, and I'm like, yo, dude, Cody mentioned you said you might have someone. Well, what's going on? I need to grab. And he's like, yeah, dude, I know a plug, and I just grabbed off him today. Like, I'm pretty sure he's got some. I'll ask if I can give you a Snapchat, right? So I'm like, bet, dude, hit me back. Let me know, right? So we're sitting there, we finish smoking our blunt, and we end up just chatting, kind of walking around the driveway, enjoying the weather, because it was a nice summer day, I remember. It was hot out. We didn't really want to sit in that garage, bro. It was warm in there, so we took a little walk across the driveway, just kind of enjoying the sun, enjoying the high, having a hoot, and kind of hoping that we're going to get some more bud soon. And maybe like 10 minutes later, Nate hits me back up and he's like, yo, my dude said that you can add him. So he gives me a Snapchat and I go ahead and add him up. Now, obviously, listen, you guys can judge by the title of this video that I did not shop with this guy multiple times. So I don't know what this man's name was. We're just going to call him Plugman Johnson. All right. I mean, that works. All right. So I had Plugman Johnson on Snapchat, right? I hit him up. I'm like, yo, dude, Nate referred me to you. I'm trying to grab, right? I need a little bit of bud. What do you have? He's like, oh, I just, I only got a couple grams, like a gram of bud left, but I have carts. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, you don't have any weed left at all? Like, you don't have any bud? And he's like, oh, I could serve you like a gram, but other than that, all I got is carts. No, I'm sitting there, and I had $40 in my pocket, right? I was trying to get myself like an eighth and some blunts or something, So I'm sitting there and I'm like, shit, dude, this is not good, all right? But back then, fake carts weren't as prevalent. You know, this was a little bit, I'd say, at least in my friend group, this was like before everyone was ripping carts, right? This was when like brass knuckles were the only carts we could really find anywhere. And even then, not many people sold them. You know, like danks weren't really a huge thing. You didn't see people trying to sell like Mario carts. I've seen people selling Supreme carts, all right? This was a little before all that kind of went down, right? So at this point, a cart wasn't like the worst thing ever. And I wasn't totally opposed to them like I am now, right? So I was like, all right, you know, I guess I'll grab a cart too. How much are the carts, right? And he's like, oh, dude, I got these 1-gram carts, man. I got you for $30. And I was like, yo, will you give me the rest of the bud you have and a cart for like 40? And he's like, yeah, say less. So I'm getting excited, right? I tell Cody, I'm like, dude, hey, I've done the negotiating, all right? I just went on Shark Tank. I struck a deal, all right? We're doing good, doing great. It's wonderful. We got a cart coming. We got some weed too. Cody's like, all right, you know, that sounds good. So I get up, I tell Cody I'm about to go pick the shit up. I'm like, all right, well, you know, I'm about to probably go link up with this guy. And the dude told me that he wanted to meet me at a Wendy's. Coincidentally, it was actually the same Wendy's that I used to work at. So I was like, bet, dude, this is only like 10 minutes down the street. I'm sliding on this guy. I'm starting to fiend, dude. At this point in my life, I don't know what it was, but when I was younger, I used to fiend like a lot more for weed than I ever did. You know, like I would start tweaking if I didn't get high, dude. I was a little animal when it came to getting stoned. It was not good, right? My brain would just start tweaking. I'd just start twacking out, dude. I'd lose my marbles, all right? So I hop in the car, and of course, I whip on over to this Wendy's, and I pull up in the parking lot. I've got my 40 buckaroo, 40 smackers in my pocket, and this dude pulls up in the classic plug whip, man. He's got the old little Honda Civic. It's making a little whistling sound. It's a little beater. It's a little rusty, but hey, he's got some mid up in that middle compartment, and that's what I'm there for, right? So, of course, I hop out of the car, and I know as soon as he pulls up, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the man who's selling me a cart. For sure, there's no one else here who's going to sell me a cart, right? As soon as I saw him pull up, I pulled up next to his car. I hop out and get in his shotgun, and I'm like, oh, you know, what's up? I introduce myself, say, you know, it's good to meet you, yada, yada. And I should have known that something was up here, but I was fiending so hard I didn't care, right? I didn't give a shit. This guy hands me a cigarette pack, right? And he's like, yo, I got your bud and your cart in that. I throw him the money, and I open the cigarette pack before I got out of the car, and in there is, lo and behold, some bud and a cart, right? Now, obviously, many of you are probably wondering, where's the packaging for the cart? And I probably should have wondered that too, but that didn't really cross my mind at the time. And also, like I said earlier, like carts weren't as prevalent back then, you know? So like people could honestly get away with just selling a loose cart, you know? It was not totally unheard of back then, but either way, this guy sells me this cart in a cigarette pack, and I ask him, I'm like, oh, you know, like, what kind of cart is this? Because I realized I never even asked her. I didn't even know what I was getting here. And he's like, oh, dude, these are Cali carts. These are from Cali. That's all he said. And I was like, do you know what strain it is? And he's like, bro, it's OG Kush. As soon as he said that, I probably should have just thrown it at him, honestly. Probably should have cracked it open and made him take a little taste of whatever fucking nectar, whatever like pesticide, little science lab nectar was in there. But I didn't. You know, he said that and I just took it. I should have known immediately. Dude, I just got like a ringing sound in my ear as soon as I started describing the cart. I think I'm having like a traumatic flashback to this, dude. I got permanent brain damage from this cart. But well, hey, we'll get to that later. So, back on topic here. So, homie serves me the OG Kush Cali cart, boys. So, I'm pretty excited for this. And I get back in my car and I realize I don't even have a battery. You know, I'm like trying to bust out this cart. You know, I pull out this cart and I realize like, wait, how am I even smoking this? Like, I don't even have a battery on me, right? So, I whip over to the smoke shop, right? I had a vape at the time, but it didn't go low enough in wattage to do a cart. I would have annihilated it, dude, right? So, I go over to the local smoke shop, but that doesn't card, the sketchy one. Very dimly lit. It was in between a phone repair shop that was known to buy stolen phones. I had a couple friends who had sold some phones there. I had a buddy, actually, like he got some kid's phone out of the locker room and sold it. Hey, this store was sketchy. They're not in business anymore. But either way, we go into the sketchy smoke shop, or I go into the sketchy smoke shop, pardon me, and I grab myself a little battery for this cart, right? I dip on out of there, and of course that battery that probably came straight from God knows fucking where, dude, probably a place I can't pronounce. I get back in the car, and it was conveniently already charged up, right? Already ready to go. So I'm like, bet, say less, perfect, right? I slap that cart on there. And I start my car, and I'm whipping back to Cody's house. I remember I hit up Cody, and I'm like, "Yo, man, I got our stuff, dude. I got some bud too. So, I'm ready to smoke up. I'm sliding back right now." He's like, "Bet. See you soon." I remember I'm driving back to Cody's house, and I hit this cart for the first time when I'm pulling up to a red light, and I hit this cart, and it's got this very distinct like burnt berry taste. I don't know if like maybe the cheap pen I bought was burning the cart, or if it was something was burnt here. That's all I knew. But after the burnt part happened, there was a very like almost like overpowering like fake berry taste. It almost tasted like Fun Dip powder. It was really, really sweet, really fucked, and it like hurt my teeth almost. It was so sweet. It was fucked, dude. I remember hitting it and I was like, oh my God. And immediately it hit the back of my throat and it was just this dry, hot smoke, dude. It did not go down smoothly. And I start coughing a lung up, dude. And once I start coughing, I remember I get this shooting fucking pain in each side of my head, dude. It feels like someone just took a power drill to each side of my head and shot it through. I'm coughing a lung up, and at first I figure, okay, my head just hurts because I'm coughing so hard. Once I calm down, I'll be stoned. I'm still trying to remain optimistic about my OG Kush Cali cart, but baby, it's not fucking working, dude. I'm coughing through the red light. I'm coughing through the green light. I'm coughing a lung up all the way back to Cody's, and I stop at the McDonald's that was pretty close to his house, right? I get a drink because I needed it, bro. I couldn't make it back to the sesh without a bev, right? So I go through the drive-thru. And I get myself a nice little Dr. Pepper. A classic, dude. The best beverage on the menu. Listen, if you order Coca-Cola, it's only good for like 5 minutes. Dr. Pepper is the supreme beverage. Sprite's respectable too, but Dr. Pepper's the supreme beverage, okay? Just don't be a Coke drinker. That's all I ask of you, right? But either way, all right, back on topic here. So, I go through the drive-thru and get my little beverage of choice, I slap on that, and it did help. It did help, and I just got this fucking headache, dude. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God, like this shooting pain in the side of my head just won't go away. So I pull back up to Cody's house, and he's happy to see me. He's like, oh, what's up, dude? Good to see you again. Let's smoke, He's excited to see me, and I'm sitting there. I walk up, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, I'm not very excited about this at all. So I sit down on his couch immediately, and I'm like rubbing my head, and he's like, are you good, bro? And I'm like, dude, this cart I just bought off this guy is fucked, right? And he's like, let me see that shit. And I pull it out and show it to him. And I never really took a chance to actually look closely at the cart until I got to Cody's house, right? Once we're sitting in his garage where it was well lit, there's overhead lights, a shitload of shit going on in there, lit up and all, and we could see it well, I realized that this shit looked like uranium, bro. It was so neon yellow, it was almost green. It looked like, if you guys have ever seen The Simpsons when Homer's holding the stick of uranium, literally it looked like that with a little tip on top. It was disgusting. It was repulsive. This was one of the worst fucking things I've ever hit in my life. And I was not stoned in any way, shape, or form. I just had a nice pain going in my head. But luckily, I still had some weed. So I bust this out. And I'm like, Cody, dude, I got like a little over a gram of bud here, I think. Let's roll some struggle blunts up. And he's like, say less. I got some wraps. So we roll these struggle blunts. We managed to get 3 blunts out of the amount of weed I had. Now, I'm ashamed to even describe these, but listen, everyone goes through some hard times every now and then, and listen, me and my homies, we didn't have very much money back then. We weren't smoking Fat Old Woods all day long every day. That was a treat for us, okay? We smoked .5 blunts because that's how life was back then, all right? We didn't get to the big leagues until later in life. Once we're like out of high school, well, that's when we started smoking better, right? But high school, we're smoking swag and we're smoking small quantities. So we got 3 blunts that I'd say were probably a half gram each, maybe even a 0.4 each. They were very, very tall, or not tall. They were very tiny and flaccid. Okay, they were not the greatest, but they smoked, and that's all that matters. We sparked up these blunts, and my headache kind of slowly went down as we smoked. You know, this wasn't the greatest weed, but it was weed. It had THC content, and that's all I needed, because the cart definitely didn't have any of that, right? So we smoked these little struggle blunts, and we kind of chill out, and eventually Nate ended up coming over, right? He came over to match on the other 2 little struggle blunts that we had. So now we had 4 struggle blunts going. And I tell Nate, I'm like, bro, I'm never fucking with anyone you refer me to ever again. And he's like, why, dude, really? And I'm like, bro, that was the worst thing I've ever hit in my life. That was literally terrible. That I got a throbbing headache, dude. I got a pounding headache. And Cody didn't want to hit it. But Nate, I'm like, Nate, bro, you got to fucking hit this shit. Like, you're the one who made me buy this. Like, you must hit this cart. So Nate's like, all right, I guess I'll hit this cart. So I pass it to him, and he hits it. This motherfucker coughs a lung up so hard, he's out on Cody's lawn coughing spit up for like 10 fucking minutes, dude. He's hocking loogies, dude. His nose is running, dude. His eyes are red. This shit's horrible. Off like a tiny hit, too. This guy couldn't take it. Nobody could take it. It was the worst cart ever. But slowly but surely, my headache went away, and I had a better night, man. Hey. Hope you guys enjoyed this video about probably, honestly, one of the worst, if not the worst, card I've ever gotten. This was in the old days. This was, oh, God only knows what was in there. Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, gamers.